Listen, I know you've seen the hot takes already. If Micah Parsons was in, we'd have one. That reaction makes total sense. He's a game-changing talent, and when he's out, it feels like someone cut the engine out of the defense. But before we put the whole game on his absence, let's slow down and walk through what actually happened and what it really means. I want to be straight with you. I'm not trying to paper over the obvious. Micah is special. He pressures quarterbacks. He changes blocking, schemes, and he makes offenses account for him every snap. But football is a team game, and sometimes the single-player explanation becomes a shortcut that hides a more complicated truth. In that Eagles game, the chatter went instantly to Micah, and I get it. But there were moments where other guys stepped up in ways you might have missed if all you saw was the scoreboard. When Clark came in, for example, the Eagles' rushing gains were noticeably smaller on his snaps. That's a real thing, and it matters. It shows that even without Micah, the Cowboys got some clutch play from depth players. At the same time, you can't ignore the fact that earlier last season, the Cowboys gave up huge totals to that same team. The difference now looked like progress, and that's why the would have won, if Micah played line, deserves nuance, not dismissal. So here's how I want you to think about this. Ask yourself two questions. Number one, would Micah's presence have altered the key momentum swings in that game? And number two, are the Cowboys close enough that a player like Micah is the missing variable? Or are there other holes that won't disappear even when he's back? Drop your quick answer in the comments. Be honest. Yes, Micah would have changed it. Or no, there were bigger issues. Also, if you like breakdowns, where we actually talk facts and keep the emotion in check, hit subscribe. We're pushing to 16,000, and every new subscriber helps us bring you more of this. While you're at it, smash that like button. If you felt the same way watching the game, it really helps the channel. All right, now that we've set the table, and yes, I know fans are going to argue this one into the ground. Next, I'm going to dig into some of the numbers that back up what I just said, and some that complicate it. We'll look at snap samples, rushing averages when certain players were in, and why a two-game or even single-game sample can fool you. But before we jump into the data, tell me this, what stat do you think proves Micah mattered most? Pressures, run stops, sacks, or something else? Vote in the poll in the description, and leave that stat in the comments. Ready? Numbers don't lie, right? Well, sometimes they tell a story that's a little messier than we expect. Let's break down some of the stats from that Eagles game and put them in context. When Clark was on the field, the Eagles averaged less than 2 yards per carry. That's a clear sign that the Cowboys' front seven depth is doing something right. But here's the nuance. Clark wasn't in every single play, and Micah wasn't there for this sample. So while you see some improvement, you also have to understand the small sample trap. A few plays can swing the numbers dramatically, especially early in the season when rotations aren't consistent yet. Last year, when Micah played against the Eagles, the Cowboys gave up 75 points across 2 games. That's huge, and it can be easy to look at it and think, well, the defense isn't getting it done. But here's the kicker. Even with those totals, you can see growth if you examine each game closely. In the most recent outing, the Cowboys limited the Eagles to fewer explosive plays and managed to corral their passing game in certain sequences. That tells you that while Micah is a game changer, the defensive system itself is trending upward. It's like having a turbo engine. The car can run without it, but the ride feels different. Now I want to ask you, as a fan, how much weight do you put on small samples versus season-long trends? Drop that thought in the comments. Do you think a single player can swing a whole game? Or is it more about incremental improvements and coaching adjustments? Also, if you're enjoying this breakdown, hit the like button. It lets us know we're doing the right type of analysis for true Cowboys fans. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you catch every future deep dive. Coming up next, we're going to talk about where the Cowboys' defense is actually excelling, what Micah's presence adds, and what areas could still use help. It's all about separating hype from reality while still giving credit where credit is due. Stick with me. This is where things start to get really interesting. Now, let's talk about what the Cowboys defense actually did well, even without Micah Parsons on the field. One of the most impressive things was how they managed to corral the Eagles' passing game. It wasn't perfect, but there were sequences where the coverage held up and the rush lanes forced the quarterback into uncomfortable situations. That's not always flashy, but it's the kind of consistent under-the-radar work that keeps games close and gives your offense a chance to win. And here's the thing. When you combine that with the occasional game-changing play from someone like Clark, you start to see a defense that's building toward something bigger. Now Micah's presence obviously amplifies this. He adds pressure, commands attention, and makes blockers think twice about every snap. But even without him, the team showed signs of life and discipline. That said, there are still areas where help would make a noticeable difference. Depth along the defensive line and at linebacker rotation is key, and safety support in coverage can prevent big plays that shift momentum. This is where the front office and Jerry Jones' comments about investing in Micah and surrounding talent really come into play. If the Cowboys can bring in one or two complementary pieces, the defense could elevate from solid to genuinely dangerous. I want to hear from you. Which area would you address first if you had the power to add a player right now? Comment below with your pick. And while you're at it, vote in the yes/no poll. Should Jerry spend more to build around Micah? Also, don't forget to like this video if you appreciate these breakdowns. It really helps us grow and keep giving you the detailed takes that hardcore Cowboys fans love. Coming up next, we're going to step back and get realistic about what all of this means for the season. Momentum, matchups, and short-term expectations are all on the table. And I'll give you my take on what fans should really expect while keeping the hype in check. Stick around. It's the kind of practical analysis every fan needs before diving too deep into predictions. All right, now let's take a reality check and look at what fans should really expect moving. Forward momentum is huge in the NFL, and early wins can change the entire feel of a season. The Cowboys have winnable games coming up, like matchups against the Giants, Bears, and then Green Bay. If they can stack a few wins and build confidence, it could snowball, especially as injured players like Overshin return to the defense. Depth additions could make a noticeable difference, too, giving the team the ability to rotate fresh players without losing intensity. That's the kind of practical, realistic optimism that separates fans who panic after a single loss from those who understand the long arc of a season. Now let's get to the bottom line. The Cowboys aren't perfect, and I'm not saying they're suddenly Super Bowl contenders out of nowhere. But the recent performance shows measurable improvement against a tough team, and that should give fans reason to feel better about the squad. Ask yourself this: do you feel more confident about the Cowboys now, or do you still see the same old issues? Vote yes or no in the description poll, and leave your thoughts in the comments. I want to hear your predictions for the next 3 games. Who steps up, who needs to improve, and where Micah's presence could tip the balance. And of course, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. We're aiming for 16,000 subscribers, and every single one helps us keep delivering breakdowns, analysis, and all the insider takes that hardcore Cowboys fans crave. Smash the like button if you enjoyed this deep dive. Share the video with your friends, and let's keep this conversation going. The season is long, the games are unpredictable, but one thing is clear: the Cowboys are trending in the right direction, and with the right additions, this defense could become a real difference maker. Stick with us here at Cowboys News TV, because we're going to keep tracking every move, every injury update, and every key matchup as the season unfolds. Peace, and thanks for watching.